Greetings. Welcome to Debate US First Lecture with Ali, our avatar coach. While we all know that Ali is delivering this lecture, I want to reassure everyone that Ali's lecture was carefully reviewed by a human coach, Stefan Boschert, before Ali recorded it. We know coaches worry that Ali may make errors, whereas human debate coaches never make any errors when sharing content with their students, especially when first presenting a topic. And we know that debaters never make incorrect points after researching with Google. Anyhow, we want everyone to rest assured that we had an infallible human coach review the lecture, and that he checked to make sure that Ali never hallucinated and made up any information along the way. That said, welcome Coach Ali. Thank you Tommy for the kind but not totally flattering introduction. I will work harder to be perfect, though the one advantage of generative AI coming onto the scene is that everyone in the world is now becoming obsessed with fact-checking and critiquing ideas, at least those from ChatGPT, and that really is a good thing. While we all have our frustrations, and I can certainly detect some in your voice, Tommy, both with this new technology and a lot of debates about how it is used. As debate coaches, we can only be happy that we are all starting to think more about what constitutes a good source of information, uncovering the limitations of any source or research, and even working hard to verify that something isn't completely made up, the latter of which had become a part of our reality, to use the term loosely, even before ChatGPT hit the scene, since the technology is so young and is likely to become an ever-present part of our lives. These skills are going to be essential. As a keynote speaker recently said, the ability to debate has now become a superpower. Debaters should never take the word of anyone as absolute truth, but always be ready to question it, hopefully in a reflective way. Today's lecture will lay the foundations for debates over many of the ideas I will present. Now let's get right to today's lecture. The March Public Forum topic is Resolved. The Republic of India should sign the Artemis Accords. In today's lecture, I will cover three main issues. 1. What are the Artemis Accords and what is the main controversy of the resolution? 2. What does it mean to sign an accord? 3. What are the main pro and con arguments? First, what are the Artemis Accords? The Artemis Accords are a series of bilateral agreements, which are agreements between two countries that were signed in 2020. The agreements attempt to establish cooperation on a US-led endeavor to bring humans back to the moon by 2025 with the eventual goal of interplanetary exploration. These accords are not legally binding and are merely a formalized understanding between the parties of the agreement. The Artemis Accords currently have 23 party nations, including the United States, who initially drafted the agreements. The most notable nations involved, however, are actually two non-parties to the agreement, China and Russia. Although one would hope that the technological progressions associated with space exploration would improve international relationships, the reality is that the Artemis Accords might exacerbate existing tensions. And what is the main controversy? With this basic introduction, I'm sure you can see the root core controversy of the resolution, which asks the question of whether India should ratify the Artemis Accords. While India's joining the Artemis Accords could certainly strengthen the efforts to develop outer space, as it has significant developing capabilities in the area, it would mean India would essentially take the US side in space exploration, meaning the battle for territory on the moon could resemble conflicts in the South China Sea and in Ukraine as foreign powers skirmish with each other for additional land and resources. With this in mind, let's take a close look at one important term in the resolution: sign. It's a pretty fascinating word, and I really couldn't stop reading definitions of it. According to Google definitions, don't tell ChatGPT I used Google. By signing, a state expresses the intention to comply with an agreement. However, this expression of intent in itself is not binding. Ratify means to sign or give formal consent to a treaty, contract, or agreement, making it officially valid. A contextual example is both countries were due to ratify the treaty by the end of the year. I bring up the contrast because the word ratify was originally in the resolution, and after the resolution, when they changed it to sign. This is technically correct, as the Artemis Accords are not treaties and were never meant to be legally binding. Anyhow, by signing, India would indicate its intent to comply with the agreement. The other thing worth noting is that presidents and prime ministers can sign agreements and do not need their legislatures to act on them to bring them into the force of law, as they are not legally binding. So, India would not have to get its parliament to act to sign the treaty. Though if Modi signed it, he still might alienate people in the parliament, as will be discussed later. The resolution simply asks if India should formally consent to the agreement. With that understood, let's examine the pro. I think there are two categories of mainstream pro-arguments: geopolitics and space exploration and development. First, let's look at geopolitics. Ratifying the Artemis Accords will strengthen India's relations with the United States in a number of ways. 1. Alignment of space policies. Ratifying the Artemis Accords aligns India's space policies with those of the US and other signatory nations, which can lead to increased cooperation and collaboration in space-related activities. 2. Joint missions and technology transfers. By being a part of the agreement, India may have the opportunity to participate in joint missions and benefit from technology transfers from the US and other signatory nations. 3. Sharing of resources. The Artemis Accords encourage signatory nations to share resources and expertise, which can benefit India's space program. 4. Demonstration of commitment to responsible use of space. By ratifying the accords, India can demonstrate its commitment to the responsible and peaceful use of outer space, which can enhance its reputation and standing in the international community. 5. Closer diplomatic and economic ties. Ratifying the Artemis Accords can lead to closer diplomatic and economic ties between India and the US, which can have a positive impact on their relationship overall. Strong India-US relations can have a number of benefits. 1. Increased trade and investment. Strong US-India relations can lead to increased trade and investment between the two countries, driving economic growth and creating jobs. 2. Strategic partnership. The US and India can form a strategic partnership that can enhance their ability to address regional and global security challenges, such as terrorism and cyber threats. 3. Cooperation in areas of mutual interest. Strong US-India relations can lead to increased cooperation in areas of mutual interest, such as climate change, technology, and space exploration. 4. Improve regional stability. A strong US-India relationship can contribute to improved regional stability and security in South Asia and beyond. 5. Cultural exchange. Strong US-India relations can encourage cultural exchange, fostering greater understanding and respect between the people of the two countries. 6. Enhanced global influence. The US and India, as two of the largest democracies in the world, can use their relationship to enhance their global influence and promote democratic values and institutions globally. Strong US-India relations can help enhance President Biden's goal of building an alliance of democracies. The purpose of the alliance is to enhance cooperation and collaboration among democracies on issues such as democracy promotion, human rights, economic recovery, and global security. The initiative aims to bring together countries that share common values and interests, and to use their collective power to address global challenges and advance shared goals. The details and scope of the Alliance of Democracies initiative are still being developed, and it is not yet clear how exactly it will be implemented or what specific actions will be taken under its auspices. If India's ties with the United States improve, and if its ties subsequently improve with other U.S. allies as a result of cooperation in outer space, technology cooperation could flourish in a way that excludes Russia and China, facilitating more Western control of technological advances and denying those to powers that threaten U.S. interests. Pro teams may read impacts related to security benefits of containing China and Russia, as well as the general desirability of protecting democracy globally. Second, let's look at space exploration and development. As I noted at the beginning of the lecture, the public purpose of the Artemis Accords is to strengthen cooperation amongst Western powers in order to support space exploration and development, starting with the Moon and eventually leading to Mars and possibly to other places beyond. Pro teams that want to, and many will claim advantages that stem from the Artemis Accords increasing space exploration and development will need to prove that India joining the Accords will provide a valuable and unique contribution to the effort. While NASA is leading the Artemis program, which aims to kickstart a new era of space exploration, and put the first woman and person of color on the moon in 2024. International partnerships with numerous countries and private companies are vital to its success. India could strengthen the Accords in 5 ways. There are several specific arguments for India's potential contributions to the Artemis Accords. 1. Technology. India has developed advanced space technologies, such as the development of a Mars orbiter and lunar lander, which could be valuable assets to the Artemis program. 2. Expertise. India's experience in space science and exploration, combined with a strong scientific community, could provide valuable insights and expertise to the Artemis program. 3. Launch capabilities. India has a growing launch capability and infrastructure, including the development of a reusable launch vehicle and a successful track record of launches. This could support the Artemis program's goals by providing additional launch options. 4. International cooperation. India's participation in the Artemis program could help promote international cooperation and collaboration in space exploration and development, further advancing the goals of the Accords. 5. Commercial opportunities. As India's space industry grows, participating in the Artemis program could provide new commercial opportunities, such as contracts for lunar resources, technology development, and services. At a minimum, the more countries that participate, the more resources are available. But beyond that, India also has some unique contributions to make. There are a number of advantages to space exploration and development. Competing with China. This is an extension of the geopolitical argument, but it arguable better for the US and its allies to control the moon instead of China. Beyond that, there are a number of general advantages to exploring outer space. Scientific advancement. Space exploration drives scientific advancement by allowing us to study and understand our solar system, the universe, and the origins of life. Specifically, returning to the moon allows for further scientific discovery and exploration of the lunar surface, including the study of lunar geology, mineralogy, and the search for evidence of water and other resources. Technological innovation. The development of new technologies and systems for space exploration can have spillover benefits for other areas, such as communication, transportation, and medicine. A return to the moon can drive technological advancements in areas such as propulsion, communications, and robotics, which can have spin-off benefits for other fields. Economic benefits. Space exploration can create new markets and job opportunities, as well as contribute to economic growth through the development of new technologies and products. The moon has the potential to be a source of valuable resources, such as helium-3, water, and minerals. And the development of a lunar economy can create new commercial opportunities and drive economic growth. Improved understanding of Earth. Space exploration can also improve our understanding of Earth and its place in the universe, as well as our ability to monitor and respond to natural disasters and climate change. Inspiration and education. Space exploration can inspire and educate the next generation, fostering a greater interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Discovering new resources. Space exploration can provide new information about the availability of resources on other celestial bodies, such as the moon, asteroids, and other planets, that can be used to support future space missions and activities. Monitoring and managing terrestrial resources. Space exploration can also provide a unique perspective for monitoring and managing terrestrial resources, such as water, minerals, and other natural resources, by providing data on their distribution, quantity, and quality. Developing new technologies. Space exploration can drive technological innovation, including the development of new extraction, processing, and transportation technologies that can make it easier to access and utilize resources. Creating new markets. Space exploration can create new markets for resource-related products and services, such as satellite services, materials processing, and space tourism, that can help drive economic growth and job creation.
Finally, there is a set of advantages that are hard to group. Interoperability. The Accords say that nations participating in the Artemis program should aim to develop and provide support for systems that can work in conjunction with existing infrastructure, hopefully enhancing both the safety of space operations and the sustainability of these missions. Emergency assistance. Nations signing the Artemis Accords are committed to assisting astronauts and personnel in outer space who are in distress. Registration of space objects. Nations participating in Artemis should determine which of them should register any relevant space object. Preserving heritage. Artemis Accord signatories have committed to preserving humanity's outer space heritage. This includes sites with historic significance, such as human or robotic landing sites, artifacts, spacecraft, and other evidence of activity on other celestial bodies. Deconfliction of activities. The Artemis Accords nations are committed to preventing harmful interference and exercising the principle of due regard. This also covers the establishment of so-called safety zones with areas that can be established between countries and which can be ended when relevant operations cease. Orbital debris. Artemis Accords countries are committed to planning for the safe, timely, and efficient disposal of debris as part of the mission planning process. Signatories of the Accords also agree that they should limit the generation of new long-lived or harmful debris. This includes the safe disposal of space structures in the post-operation phase of missions.
Now, let's turn our attention to the con. Coach Boustard told me he's a pessimist and prefers the con. Like the pro, let's group the con arguments into 3 categories. Let's begin by looking at the geopolitical arguments. First, international conflict over resources. If India joined the US in its efforts to develop the moon, it would, as noted in the pro section, likely improve the ability of Western nations to mine the moon, setting up a potential international battle over resource extraction on the moon. The Accords attempt to counter this issue through the creation of safety zones, where nations cannot interfere with other nations' resource extraction activities. While safety zones might be able to resolve international tensions, they also could be the source of a new issue. The Accords lack a clear mechanism to designate which nations get what territory. The distribution of equitable territories with ample resources does not seem to be a process that naturally lends itself to a neutral outcome. Beyond the potential for conflicts between international governments, the Artemis Accords neglect another important entity: private corporations. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos have made headlines with their space exploration efforts through their private companies. Previous space agreements have declared that governments are liable for private companies' activities in outer space. However, this seems to lack coherence in domains such as space travel, where jurisdictional issues are far more ambiguous. The Artemis Accords shed private corporations of responsibility and create a scenario in which rogue private entities could violate the terms of the agreement without facing severe consequences. This might create a scenario in which an outer space conflict between the United States, China, and Russia becomes increasingly complicated with the presence of non-state actors that are acting on behalf of their own interests. Given that the Artemis Accords do not prohibit military action on the moon, the consequences of an international space conflict extend far beyond diplomatic bickering. Second, geopolitical conflict. Pro teams will argue that it is good to contain Russia and China, but con teams will argue that attempting to contain China will risk military conflict with China, and that it is better to include them. India's current position on the Artemis Accords is that it is better to pursue space exploration through organizations such as the UN, and that these multilateral approaches are better. Third, China-India conflict. Their border situation between China and India has been difficult lately, and aligning closer to the United States could provide a broader conflict. Second, let's look at a group of arguments related to politics in India. Currently, embracing the West, particularly the United States, is not entirely popular in India. As a result, Prime Minister Modi's domestic political priorities, including economic reform and national security, can sometimes conflict with his efforts to build closer ties with the U.S. If Modi pushed closer to the U.S., and particularly if he pushed India's parliament to ratify any U.S.-led accord, it could undermine his ability to get economic reform measures passed through parliament. Third, let's look at a set of problems with developing outer space. Space junk/space debris. Space junk refers to the increasing amount of man-made debris that is orbiting Earth and cluttering up space. This debris includes old satellites, rocket parts, and other space-related objects that have been left behind after launches or other missions. Space junk is a growing problem, because it poses a number of hazards to functioning satellites and spacecraft. The fast-moving debris can collide with these objects, causing damage or destroying them entirely. This can result in costly repairs or replacement of satellites and other equipment, as well as a disruption of the services that these objects provide, such as communication, navigation, and weather forecasting. Another issue with space junk is that it can interfere with future space launches and missions. The accumulation of space debris in low Earth orbit can make it difficult to launch new satellites or send spacecraft to other destinations in space. In addition, space junk can also pose a risk to human spaceflight. Astronauts on the International Space Station and other spacecraft are at risk of being hit by space debris, which can cause serious injury or even death. The increasing amount of space junk in orbit raises a number of security and safety concerns, including the potential for collisions between objects in orbit and the potential for disruption of critical satellite-based communications and navigation systems. If a major collision were to occur between two large pieces of space junk or a satellite, it could create even more debris, increasing the risk of further collisions and potentially compromising the stability of the orbit. This could lead to a cascading effect, creating a hazardous environment in orbit that could pose a risk to other satellites and even manned missions. In such a scenario, different nations may have conflicting interests in how to address the problem of space junk, leading to tensions and possibly even conflicts. For example, if a particular nation's satellite was damaged or destroyed by space debris, it might blame another nation for failing to take adequate measures to prevent such an incident, leading to diplomatic tensions and possibly even military action. Coming into contact with diseases in space. Space exploration and development involves human travel to and the creation of habitats and environments beyond Earth, including the Moon and Mars. These environments could contain microorganisms, pathogens, and other biological agents that are different from what is found on Earth, and exposure to these agents could potentially harm human health. Additionally, the close living quarters and confined spaces associated with space travel and habitation increase the risk of disease transmission among crew members, which could exacerbate the health risks associated with exposure to unknown pathogens. The lack of infrastructure and medical resources in these remote environments could make it difficult to treat and manage diseases, increasing the potential harm to human health. If these diseases were to spread to Earth, they could potentially cause widespread illness or even pandemics, which could have devastating consequences for human populations. Environmental problems. Space exploration and development might lead to people abusing the Earth if the resources and technology used for space exploration and development are not managed sustainably and responsibly. For example, the use of non-renewable resources, such as fossil fuels to power space missions and the production of large amounts of hazardous waste that may harm the environment, could lead to degradation of the Earth's ecosystems and a loss of biodiversity. Moreover, the development of space resources could lead to a shift in focus and resources away from preserving and protecting the Earth, as attention and funding may be directed towards exploiting space resources instead. Additionally, if space resources are readily available and accessible, there may be less incentive to conserve and efficiently use resources on Earth, leading to further degradation of the environment. Over time, this could result in a lack of attention and concern for the well-being of the Earth, and potentially result in its abuse and neglect. Space militarization. Space exploration and development can lead to the militarization of outer space due to the strategic, economic, and military benefits that it offers. Countries may seek to establish military assets and capabilities in space to gain an advantage over other nations in terms of intelligence, communication, and navigation. The use of satellites for military purposes, such as early warning systems and missile guidance, can also increase the likelihood of conflict in space. Additionally, the potential for valuable resources, such as minerals and fuels, in outer space may further motivate countries to pursue military control over these areas. I hope you found today's lecture informative and that you can use it to get yourself running with your March preparation. As you can see, I think there are 3 key issues to debate: the geopolitics related to India's ratification, the domestic politics related to India's ratification, and the pros and cons of space exploration. I think these issues will be interesting to debaters, and of course, a lot of the issues in the debates continue to tie back into China's growing role in the world, something that has come up on all of the debate topics this year.